Hello everybody, I'm Cosmic Claire, and good evening and welcome to another one of my video blogs. Unfortunately, I shouldn't correctly say a nightly video blogs, because unfortunately I missed last night, as one of my friends observed, so I was very flattered that he must have actually checked in and wanted to see what I'd posted. So sorry about that, John. Yes, I was just too tired to do it last night, so I'm very sorry. And welcome to a couple of new friends on Facebook who I hope might pick this up. Mick, hi there Mick, wonderful painting. Anyway, the topic I was going to talk about tonight, I was going to talk about it last night, but anyway, I've had more time to think about it. Is about what they call separation consciousness. Now, I know that my friend Ron Van Dyke talks about this from time to time, and I think that it's such an important topic that it could bear a little bit of talking about a bit more, perhaps. Because this is something which, because as it kind of balances against what people might call unity consciousness, some people have kind of problems with unity consciousness, thinking that that means we all have to submit to some kind of, quasi-new world order thing, and that's what it all amounts to in the end, so there's no difference. But I would venture to disagree with that. So we'll start out with separation consciousness. Well, separation consciousness is really a refusal to acknowledge that the universe is one thing. And this is kind of pretty much we're in the moment, because we've been in this Piscean age for about 2,000 years or so, and what that seems to have been about is a legitimate stage in evolution, but one that we're probably, hopefully, evolving beyond or out of. I'm sure you're familiar with the image of the two fishes swimming in opposite directions. And this has turned out to symbolise the forces of things like power and authority, autocracy, aristocracy, rulership against the people, religious hierarchies. It's about division. It's about two sides of humanity doing different things in opposite directions. And this has brought round a kind of situation whereby the positive side is that the whole world, everybody and culture has become more individuated, so that we have a greater sense of identity in ourselves, as opposed to being part of the collective mind in a kind of undifferentiated kind of way, in a kind of tribal way. So we've become more individuated, and we see ourselves as individuals who develop individual unique traits and step out of dominance of collective thought, people telling you what to do, having to do things for the benefit of others, and sacrificing your own needs. So then that comes into kind of the negative side of it, which is the oppression of people lower down by those at the top. To the point where we get such complete alienation that the people on the top don't care about the feelings of the people lower down, and the people on the lower down, some might be inclined to kind of want revenge, to take revenge, or perhaps be violent, which is kind of not the best way to resolve this situation that we've got into. So what follows Pisces? What follows Pisces is Aquarius, and the symbol of Aquarius is two waves, one above the other, and they're in synchrony, just one's up and one's down. And of course this relates to the famous saying of the ancient mystery school teachings, as above so below. This is about the material world that we live in reflects the structure, you might almost call it will, of the higher world, but it also means that we have to conform with the laws of nature, karma, balance, and so forth. And since in the Piscean age things are going in opposite directions, well, it kind of leads to lack of balance and unfairness and so forth. So Aquarius is about finding that harmony, so that the higher vibration, which is law, has to not only be an expression of and in harmony with nature, but just as the below needs to follow the above needs to follow the below, which might kind of sound a truistic paradox or something. But what it means is that both sides have to respect the essence and value of the others. So it's not a case of left or right, it's a case of all being in harmony, whatever their positions are. So yeah, developing the separation consciousness thing, this is very much kind of, old Aeon Piscean kind of thinking, and it's I suppose it's long been the case that the people who've dominated are those who often have what we might call psychopathic tendencies, a lack of empathy for those that they are oppressing, exploiting, manipulating, and so on and so forth. This is it's kind of vampiristic, isn't it? I'm going to go out another direction, but I can't help thinking about vampires and how there's a kind of cultural obsession with vampires. I don't follow them, but ever since Buffy, which I did enjoy, there seems to have been a spate of vampire movies and TV series that I haven't even been able to kind of keep up with or follow. But something that was observed by, I think it was Henrik Palmgren on Red Ice Radio a few weeks ago, was that vampires have now become a kind of almost like a kind of a sexy kind of heroic figures somehow, and or role models to be admired, and we have to bring ourselves back to thinking, hey, just a minute, what is a vampire? A vampire is someone who is basically died and got an extension of life from sucking the life essence of other people who are still alive. And the vampire, probably in most mythologies, doesn't even have the original soul left behind, so it's just a kind of biological automaton that goes around draining the life force of the human race. And this is heroic and sexy. Well, I think one of the things in the Buffy series and Angel which helped make them successful was that all the vampires really were bad guys except for Angel and Spike, who both at various different stages ended up having souls or not. But they're always trying to kind of atone for the evil things that vampires have done, they've done themselves, and so on and so forth. So that brings in the kind of ethical soul struggle, which is, I think, kind of what made that work. I kind of don't want to watch TV shows where the vampires are kind of all bad, but they're still heroes. I don't know what they're like anyway, so I shouldn't judge them. But this separation consciousness, whether they really are, vampires or not, it kind of doesn't matter. It's all about metaphor and meaning and symbolism and what it's all about. And it's quite clear that if you really try and make the comparison, the world situation at the moment is run by vampires. They may not be sucking blood, although some people seems to be a growing belief that some of these people might actually engage in human sacrifice, and who can say? I don't know, but I'm not ruling it out. They certainly exercise human sacrifice when it comes to wars and things like that, capital punishment, false flag killings, and so on and so forth. So perhaps they get off on that in some way. Now this whole thing separates the universe out, but of course the universe is one thing. The universe is one thing. We are all part of one thing. We are little fragments, shards of the hologram, but we all have the essence of the whole within us, as indeed do the vampires or the New World Order or the bad guys or whoever, however we like to describe the parasitic elites which are trying to take over the world. And apparently, at least they seem to be, believe that they're doing it. They believe that they're being successful, and seems to be a lot of evidence, although they kind of don't tune into being aware of what else is going on, because it's outside of their perceptual frequency range, as you might call it. They because they do not have any empathy, because they have shut off or had closed down, or for whatever reason they're not able or willing to see the pain in others that they're causing and the environmental damage that they're doing to the planet. They carry on in this way, separating themselves, trying to separate themselves from the wholeness of the universe, even though its essence is within them. And one of the things I think about the Piscean symbols is that it kind of reminds me of an elastic band which gets stretched, two forces going in the opposite direction, and eventually the rubber band either snaps or springs back. And this, I think, has to happen at some kind of cosmic level, because we have reached that point of complete imbalance, it seems to me, where the separation consciousness has put everything out of balance. Everything is upside down, back to front, the wrong way round, inside out, and it needs to be reintegrated, and perhaps in a new way, because Piscean separation consciousness was a kind of necessary part of evolution, but it's done its thing. We've learned about what it's like to be separate and individual, and we've discovered that it has certain advantages, but complete separation is kind of destructive and painful. So we've got individual perspective, but now we need to reconnect with the awareness of all being part of the same being, which is the universe, which came into manifestation at the Big Bang. Before that, it was one thing, and then it kind of started diversifying and differentiating out. But you can only kind of have so much separation when it's complete and total, and any further would mean a complete snuffing out of the universal spirit which is within it. Then you can't go further than that, because if that spirit was snuffed out, then the actual thing which is being separated will also snuff itself out as well, because it might deny that it's part of this unified being, but the fact is, if that connection with the unified being was to be removed, then it would cease to exist. So here we are. We need to then, kind of move with the what you might call the integrating, the integrating direction that the energy needs to take now. So that this doesn't mean all kind of huddling into one great big group hug, although I'm sure that can be fun. Done it once or twice. But it's or certainly not anything about all coming under one collective global world government which everybody is forced to obey, because that is just separation trying to hide under unity. And I think that's probably what the New World Order is trying to do. It's trying to con us with the idea of a one world government or being something about unity consciousness, but it would just be the coalescence and completion of the separation of the above from the below. It would be like the Aquarian symbol, instead of vibrating up and down, was grating backwards and forwards like saw teeth against each other, and that's a pretty grim, cataclysmic symbol to imagine. We need to let go of one metaphorical system and make way for the new one, which is sympathetic resonance. So it would be a matter of having sympathy and respect, empathy, understanding, appreciating, taking time to consider how other people feel, and not imposing will upon them, not exploiting them, not expecting them to give up things and sacrifice things for the better of good of others, supposedly the whole, but if it doesn't include the person who is making the sacrifice, then it is not. This is quite a difficult process, because it involves giving up, to some degree at least, the egotistical part of us which thinks that we are more important and than other points of view, other people, and we've become so kind of stuck in this dense presence of this incarnatory thing that it's kind of, it is important. The ego position is important, but it needs to be loosened to the point where we can see the position of other people, and then this resonance, we can all feel the resonance with higher laws and stop fighting. It starts with each and every one individual person, and then just kind of running out of time now, but this is exactly what is the meaning of what I say at the end when I say in Lakesh. In Lakesh means I'm another one of you, you are another one of me, we all are different eyes on the same consciousness, and so this is what unity consciousness is about, getting beyond the veil of separation and feeling the underlying unity, that we are all part of one consciousness, just a myriad facets, all reflecting and perceiving different perspectives and viewpoints on the whole, which is one thing. So I will leave it there for the evening, and thank you for watching, and so I will say that this evening. Thank you very much for watching in Lakesh. One that we're probably, hopefully, evolving beyond or out of. I'm sure you're familiar with the image of the two fishes swimming in opposite directions, and this has turned out to symbolise the forces of things like power and authority, autocracy, aristocracy, rulership against the people, religious hierarchies. It could bear a little bit of talking about a bit more, perhaps, because this is something which, because as it kind of balances against what people might call unity consciousness, some people have kind of problems with unity consciousness, thinking that that means we all have to submit to some kind of, you know, quasi New World Order thing, and that's what it all amounts to in the end, so there's no difference. But I would venture to disagree with that. So we'll start out with separation consciousness. Well, separation consciousness is really a refusal to acknowledge that the universe is one thing, and this is kind of pretty much we're in the moment, because we've been in this Piscean age for about 2,000 years or so, and what that seems to have been about is a legitimate stage in evolution. But hello everybody, I'm Cosmic Claire, and good evening and welcome to another one of my video blogs. Unfortunately, I shouldn't correctly say a nightly video blogs, because unfortunately I missed last night, as one of my friends observed, so I was very flattered that he must have actually checked in and wanted to see what I'd posted. So sorry about that, John. Yes, I was just too tired to do it last night, so I'm very sorry. And welcome to a couple of new friends on Facebook who I hope might pick this up. Mick, hi there Mick, wonderful painting. Anyway, the topic I was going to talk about tonight, I was going to talk about it last night, but anyway, I've had more time to think about it, is about what they call separation consciousness. Now, I know that my friend Ron Van Dyke talks about this from time to time, and I think that it's such an important topic that